I did grow up in a conservative upbringing, and where you have to wear a dress for a certain length, and you have to look a certain way, and you have to can't have earrings, you can't have makeup, you have to keep your hair long, and especially for women, it's be seen but not heard, and so that is how I grew up. And growing up, seeing and hearing my dad attempt suicide multiple times, so being around that. And then being around, like, just me and my siblings growing up with 7 of us, we just grew up beating each other up and raising ourselves, and it leading to just not even knowing who I was and not caring for anybody else. And so, especially being around suicide, like, it caused me to be suicidal and depressed, and led me to cutting myself. In the 3rd grade, just playing mindlessly on a tablet, one day just pressing on a link, and it just ended up going into this rabbit hole of porn, and that had me addicted for years from 3rd grade to 8th grade. Throughout that time, I was struggling with my own depression, own suicidal thoughts, cutting myself, bullying, but even this outward expression of, like, yeah, I'm doing good, I can say the right things, I can walk the walk, I know the verses, I know when to stand, I know when to say amen. And yet inwardly, I was hating everybody. I was judgmental. I also was perverted, the way that I saw people, the way that I knew things. I was rotten, truly just because of what I was consuming, and then nobody knowing, having nobody to go to. Especially with the stigma around porn for men, and it honestly being neglected for a woman. But even like I was a little girl, and having no understanding, if somebody even talked to me of, like, hey, Adina, like, let's talk about, like, what you're doing on the internet and, like, what's going on in your life. But there was nobody I even felt like I could trust with because of how, like, ugly and dirty, and felt like nobody even knew what was, like, could say anything, and that I was just going to be judged for it. But also being a kid, not knowing what any of that meant or what it could mean. It distorted the way I looked at everybody. It changed the way that I saw what people could be and what they could do. Because you see some graphic things, and you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. And so even with, because the desires stopped, but the dreams didn't stop. It didn't stop. And there are so many times when even people they talk about temptations, and it's like, well, and temptation first starts in the mind. But for me, like, it would pop up in my dreams, and I would have to wake up and be like, I can't see this. I don't want to see this. It started to twist even just my reality of, like sexuality, because, like, and nobody even talks about this. And honestly, I don't even think I've shared this with people of, like, even my own homosexual thoughts where I'm like, okay, well, like, that person's beautiful and da-da-da-da. And, like, it distorting everything. And I'm thankful that the Lord saved me when he did, because there's a whole rabbit hole of just deception, lies, wickedness that lie there. And that is covered because of the darkness, because sin wants to stay in the dark. But yeah, it definitely messed the way that I saw people. I'm positive that I led people on their own porn addictions because of how consumed I was with it at school. And then in the 8th grade, I was just at a youth group at church, and the youth pastor, all that he said was, meet the Lord. And it was just, the Lord, I need you. And he was like, if you need to lay down on the ground and cry, do that. If you need to go in a corner and worship, do that. But, like, meet with God. And so it was the first time I ever, like, felt even open of, like, okay, like, I want to meet you, Lord. I want to know you. The Lord met me like a hug and a wave that I can't express other than, like, the porn addiction, the thoughts, everything. Like, it literally in that moment, like, the desire stopped. But even at looking down at my wrist, the cuts are gone. Like, the cuts are gone. From that moment on, I was like, this is what I'll die for. This is what I'll live for. Honestly, the biggest thing is going back to what Jesus says in his word. And if I truly believe everything that I am is based in the Bible, and that this is 100% true, 100% valid and infallible, then all the conflicting, all the hard truths, my life needs to shift to be in line with that and to be built on that. And so even if it's stripping me of everything that I've ever known, my home, my family, the way I used to live, what I thought was right and wrong, him stripping me of it all, and him allowing to shape and to align what is actually true in me, and that becoming real for me, like that is what has changed my life, stripping me of everything. And so the biggest question is Jesus worth it all to you, to shake everything in your life and to follow him into anywhere and everywhere he's asking you to go, and everywhere in your heart that he wants you to be open to?